I collect old VHS tapes. I hit pawn shops, resale, and consignment shops, and even some antique shops. Got one hell of a collection going too, near 2,000 tapes of all genres. My favorites though are the old cheesy B-horror grindhouse type films. They take me back to a time when I was first introduced to horror flicks, right around the mid-80s. I've got a sweet digitizing setup rigged to transfer tape to DVD, and all but just a few movies I've already made copies of. I don't sell any of them, but I have an 80s movie night a few times a month at a local pub, where a bunch of aficionados gather to watch, dissect, and discuss the flicks. We have a great time doing it too. Loads of fun. It's gotten to the point locally where I'll get tips on where to find more, or I'll get sent some from time to time. I got a call just the other day, in fact, from some guy that said he knew of a place that was just a couple towns over from me. Said I should head over quick, because the place is being torn down soon, and gonna be turned into a shopping center. I didn't get his name though to thank him, but I took the address down and went the next day after work. The place wasn't hard to find at all. I could tell the building was far older than anything in the surrounding area. It was a dilapidated mess. Windows were boarded up, graffiti, and broken bottles strewn about the place. There was a fence around the place with a gate. I walked the perimeter, but no one was in sight, and I really didn't want to get busted for trespassing. But I figured if it was unlocked, I'd just run in and see what I could find. I made my way inside as quickly as possible. The inside was no better than the outside. Old cardboard beds for the homeless in the area. More bottles and makeshift toilets in corners. I'm not certain what this place was, but it was a blight for sure. The main room was pretty big, easily several thousand square feet, and it was covered with the aforementioned trash. I didn't see anything that resembled a box of tapes, or even a single tape in this area. I pressed on to find another room, and look around some more. I'm not sure how this mystery caller knew where to find these tapes, but this was starting to piss me off. I kept walking around. I found an old kitchen area. No tapes. Found some office rooms. Still nothing. I came across some stairs and took them to the second floor. More cardboard bedding. Still no tapes. Damn it. 5 more minutes of this and I'm leaving. I'm not going to spend my evening walking through some beat up, broken down building, looking for something that may or may not be here. And why, in this building, would there be any fucking tapes anyway? Clearly this was an office building of some sort, and not a movie store or old department store. Somewhere when it was live would have maybe had VHS tapes in it. The only thing that's lived here in recent memory was bums and cockroaches. Fuck it, I'm leaving. I descended the steps the way I came upstairs and rounded the corner. Why don't you fucking watch where you're going, asshole? Jesus fuck, where the fuck did this guy come from? He was dressed in a uniform of some sort. It didn't look official like a security guard or anything, but he had on dark cargo pants and jackboots with a dark shirt to match. Shit! Holy shit, you scared the fuck out of me, man! Damn, I'm sorry. Where'd you come from? I saw you duck in here a few minutes ago. What are you doing in here? I told him about the caller, and that I was told about a box of tapes that I could salvage for my collection. He told me to go check in the basement, take the long hall to the end, and it was tucked behind some pipes down there. I thanked him, and made my way down there. The basement was freaky as hell. There was a putrid stench that could be best described as stale piss and rotting rat corpses. The lighting was horrible, so I used my cell phone to illuminate my path. If I didn't find these things soon, I'd easily succumb to the foul bouquet. Another couple turns and a long walk, and I was there finally. Sure enough, there was the box. Probably had 30 tapes in it. That was the good news. The bad news was that none of the movies had cover boxes, and the box they were in was in such bad shape, I had to hold it together while fumbling with my phone for light, while also making sure I didn't crack my head on a pipe or step in a pile of anything nasty. I made my way back towards the stairs, and as I started up, the bottom of the box gave out. Every tape spilled onto the steps and back down to the floor. Motherfucker, I muttered to myself. I quickly arranged them into 3 stacks and managed to pick them up in my arms to make my way back up. Finally back on the main floor now, I made my way to the front door and out of the building. I didn't see the non-security guard anywhere, so I just left through the gate, back to the car. I popped the trunk and dropped the tapes in, With the tapes loaded up and nothing more to do with this place, I took off towards home. I could smell the profound rot from the place on my clothes. Piss and shit and rat funk. I drove home with the windows wide open to try to air out a bit. As soon as I got home, I stripped down to my skivvies and just tossed the rest of the clothes into the trash. Yeah, it was that bad. Now freshly washed and changed into real clothes again, I figured I'd pop in a tape to see what I was dealing with here. Rooting through the last haul, I could see that all but a few were dated, which leads me to believe they're all home videos of some sort, which for my collection isn't much of a help, unfortunately. Either way, I put in the first non-dated copy I saw. Short Circuit showed up on the screen. Nice, but I already have it. Second tape in, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. This is a great find. One I have, but still great. A couple more movies in. Flight of the Navigator, Space Camp, Terminator 2, and Pretty Woman. All good movies, but none I needed. I just tossed those aside and started in with the dated tapes. I had already arranged them by date, starting at the earliest first, so I put the first one in. There was a patient sitting in a chair. He was wearing a light blue jumpsuit. He was scratching at his arms vigorously, so much so they were bleeding and running onto his clothes. The doctor off-screen was asking him questions regarding his need to scratch. In the upper corner, a timestamp showed January 8th, 1991. On the bottom was a digital imprint, 7014664, which I assumed to be the patient number. This went on for nearly 25 minutes. Meanwhile, patient 7014664 has nearly scratched his arm down to the muscle, shreds of skin falling down to his lap and onto the floor. I turned this tape off. Tape 2, dated January 13th, 1991. Another patient sitting in a chair, 4022177. This one sits, rocking back and forth, playing with her hair and mumbling something to herself. The doctor asking questions that go unanswered for 15 minutes. Tape 3, January 28th, 1991. 4533619. This patient appears more normal outwardly. The doctor asks questions about the patient's children. He says they were never his to begin with, and that he had to dispose of them to stop the talking. What do you mean, stop the talking? I didn't have a second to be by myself. I only wanted to quiet the talking so they would stop filling me with lies. What are these lies you speak of? Why do you think they were lying to you in the first place? It was never enough to just send them outside. I had to get rid of them. They lied. Everything was a lie. It doesn't matter now, though. I did what I had to, and now I'm here. I'd heard enough. I shut that one off. One more for tonight. This one dated farther apart than the last three. September 3rd, 1991. Patient 9013325. It looked as if this one had fallen asleep in the chair. She was sitting cross-legged with her arms folded in her lap. The doctor asked a few questions, and then without warning, this lady sprung from the chair, almost superhumanly, and jumped at the doctor off-screen. She was screeching at him, speaking in tongues it almost sounded like. The tape went black. I figure I'll do some research tomorrow to find out if I should even have these tapes. Whoever called me about them had to have known something about them too, so I'll try to do a reverse number search and see if I can't figure out who called. The next day, my research revealed the building to be a psychiatric and mental rehabilitation office that closed under mysterious circumstances. Nothing I could find said why, just that one day the place shut down and was boarded up. The story said that soon after its closing it became a haven for the homeless in the area, but was also plagued by drug users and sex traffickers. No mention of why it stood for so long after closing. I skipped a few dates and went to tape 8. This one, dated June 14th, 1992. Patient 9013325 again. In this one, she was lying on a table naked from the waist up. She had straps on both arms and one across her hips, obviously to keep her from lunging again. The camera was somehow positioned above her, and again the doctor was off screen asking questions. The woman struggled at her restraints and was biting at the air like she was trying to catch insects in her mouth. Someone came into view from the top and attached a sensor to her head. You could hear the doctor say, "Now," and the woman convulsed and writhed on the table until she passed out. The screen faded to black. Tape 13, September 5th, 1992, 9091252. A younger-looking man, held by straps at his wrist to a wall. He fought and pulled at them to the point blood had begun to seep from wounds underneath. There was a box set on the floor just out of reach to him. I didn't hear anything from a doctor this time, only the yelling from the patient. I couldn't see what was in the box. I shut this one off too. This shit was getting weirder with every passing tape. I think I figured out why this place is shut down. Seems as though these so-called doctors began playing games with their power on these patients and must have gotten caught doing it. Tape 17, December 27th, 1992, 5422647. Another patient strapped to a table. A doctor, visible this time, standing over him, partially blocking the view. He backed away slowly to reveal a 2-foot-long incision on the patient's chest. Blood pouring onto the table now, his ribcage held to the side with clamps. His heart still beating, and lungs still breathing. Off. Jesus fuck, what the hell is this? I yelled at the TV. The tapes were getting progressively worse as they went on. I didn't want to watch anymore, but I couldn't look away. Tape 20, January 6th, 1993, 9244273 and 0244374. Two women being forced to have sex with each other, clearly for the pleasure of the staff. They were covered in blood though, thoroughly hideous. Off. Tape 22, February 7th, 1993. Two men this time being filmed through a window and a door. They were fighting each other. Punches, kicks, chokes. They continued on until one man dug his thumbs deep into the eyes of the other. The man fell to the ground in a heap of flesh and blood, not moving now, but making strange gurgling noises until he just stopped. Fuck almighty. I'm nearly in tears from the shock and repulsiveness of these tapes. Tape 25, March 3rd, 1993. Patient 7746366. He's tied down being force-fed something. I can see he's crying, choking on the slop. Every time he moves his head to avoid being fed, an orderly full-on punches him in the gut. Not only is he crying from the feeding, he's in serious crippling pain. Finally, after the last accepting swallow, the orderly hits him once, twice, 3 times until the man vomits blood and passes out or dies. Tape 29, the last one. June 11th, 1993. Patients 5336488 and 2644864. Both tied down in chairs next to one another, the doctor standing behind them. He reaches forward and pulls the tops off each of their heads, first the left, then the right. From behind his surgical mask, you could see an evil grin growing. "I've finally done it," he says. "I've completed my work here, my playthings of the damned and soulless. Only through complete destruction can true evil endure. Fear and pain are born into every soul. Evil is learned and I become a teacher, a master. Through my evil, this world will understand just what depths humans can reach." I turned off the TV, immediately boxed up the tapes and drove mad to the police. I ran through the front and yelled to speak to someone in charge at once. When asked why, I blubbered the basics of what I'd found. I'd only watched 5 or 10 minutes at most of each tape. I can only imagine what the rest looked like. I was told to take a seat, and someone would be with me shortly. A few minutes later, the tapes were collected from me, and the detective started to walk off with them. "What's going to happen to those tapes?" I asked. The detective turned, and through a devilish grin, he said,
"These. I've been looking for these. We're going to see just what depths humans can reach."